my name is Steve Whitten. I'm the Director of Instruction at Rosedale Golf and Country Club in Bradenton, Florida. I'm a PGA Master Golf Professional in Instruction and the 2013 North Florida Section Teacher of the Year. And we're here today to talk a little bit about, in this segment, the takeaway and the backswing. So we're going to take it through the takeaway all the way up the backswing to the top. That's the sequence we're going to go in. So let's first start talking about the takeaway. When we're talking about the takeaway, there's a couple things that we want to understand. First, let's get rid of one notion that when you set up and you're getting ready to take the club away, a lot of people have a tendency to forward press the golf club. They will immediately, that is their trigger. I'd like you not to do that, because basically what happens is, as you look at it from this angle, as we start to push the club forward in a forward press, it changes all the alignment in your shoulders. So let's just get rid of the first little trigger that we're going to have right there. Okay? The takeaway is initiated by the body and then the legs. So we're going to be talking about upper body and then lower body. So as we start taking the club away, the upper body starts to wind. Okay? So as I'm starting to go back, all I'm doing is swinging my arms, turning the upper body. My lower body right now, and this is the key, this is resisting. So we don't want to think turn, so to speak, because that gets us into this kind of stuff where everything turns together. We want to create a powerful coil. This is where you get your distance from. So understanding that my arms, my body starts the club back first, and my shoulders are winding. My lower body is resisting as much as it can. Okay? That creates some tension. That's good. We don't want to feel completely tension-free or we're losing that coil. So the lower body's staying very still. As we start to move the club back, we're going to work on keeping that left heel flat on the ground. Okay? That creates a lot of tension and distance in your knees, which is good. We don't want to have this. We want to create nice separation here. And your left knee, you're going to see, is going to kick in a little bit. So it isn't this type of motion. If you go back and the upper body winds around the lower body, you're going to create a little bit of an inward motion. That's good, but keeping that left heel flat on the ground. If you basically get that nice coil, that's the best coil you can get. The upper basically is going to turn twice as much as your lower. So everybody's different, okay? But the basic rule of thumb is we'd like to see when we get up towards the top, your hips basically turn about 45 degrees, your shoulders turn about 90. But again, everybody has different flexibility levels. The key is we want the upper to turn more around a stable lower body. That's a mistake that we see a lot. As we start the club back, what you're going to notice is as we start back on this angle, we start to get the wind up. Right when we see the hands are right above the right foot, okay? This is what we call basically halfway back. You're going to notice that the club face right now is in line with my spine. That is correct. That is a square club face. So if I do it again, as I start to wind, my hands are over my right shoe, the club face is tilted. A lot of us have been taught toe up, where the club gets into this position. That is actually open. The only way that is square is if the golf ball was up very high. So as you're working on taking it back, understanding that as we start to create our tight coil and the hands get right over the shoe, the club is parallel to the ground and parallel to my toes, which is a great halfway back position, and on plane, which we'll get into in a minute, the face of the club should be at the same angle as your spine. It's vitally important because as you start down, that golf club will be square. The backswing and the takeaway, they start on a plane. Okay? The plane is a fancy word for an angle. So basically, when I start my golf swing, you're going to notice, compared to this noodle here, that the golf club starts on a beginning angle. That's the address angle of the shaft. So every swing in golf has a plane. It actually is made up of many planes. But it's started and created by the address plane. For instance, if I held a club this high and I was going to swing at it, I would move the club side to side. That is a plane, or a line that the club goes on. As we go back, as we start to take the takeaway back, I've put a stick in the ground and a noodle here to show basically the original lie angle, or the plane angle of the golf club. We want that golf club to go back on that same angle. We don't want to have the club coming too far inside. We don't want to have the club going too far outside. So as the shoulders are turning, okay, as the shoulders are turning and they're creating the coil against the lower body, we've got the club face square, we've got the club halfway back, it's parallel to my toe line so I know it's perfect notice my left shoulder has moved down, my right shoulder has moved up slightly. That is correct. What we don't want to do is we don't want to turn our shoulders level to the ground. This is what too many people do when they think turn. When they get up to the top, their shoulders move level to the ground. You can see I would hit my noodle here, and their shoulders are here. Okay? So as we're getting into the setup position and we work on bringing the club back, we're keeping it on plane, we're keeping the club out in front of us. When we are straight back, pointing at the camera here, parallel to my target line, that left shoulder is going to be down slightly. Why is that? That's because we are bending over and we are turning around our spine. So it's basically about 90 degrees. When you get set up and you start this takeaway, all of this process right here, okay, all of the process of the takeaway, we are not taking up a whole lot of room. What I mean by that is when we set up and we get into our good posture, which we talked about in the last segment, good ball position, good width of stance, all of that motion where we're keeping the golf club going back, you notice I'm not moving off of the ball a lot. We're staying in a very small contained space. I am not saying that we reverse pivot, we don't do any of that kind of stuff, but as I start to wind up into my left side, I'm not moving away from the ball a lot. So from this angle, it would look a little more this way. So I'm staying in a nice tight box. I'm not moving that way. That's horizontal, shoulders moving to level, and you would see I would hit my donut. When we start the club up, because basically what we've done right now is we've decided that we have an original plane line. We've decided that the upper body and the arms are going to start the club back. So we start it back at the original line. When we get halfway back, club parallel to the target line, club face at the angle of the spine, we know the golf club is on plane. Okay, so now the next question is how now do I get the golf club going up? Okay, we have to feel, the hands have to hinge. Okay, for this golf club to stay on the proper plane, we have to teach our hands how to hinge. So as we start the golf club back, basically the feeling we have is that your left hand is pushing down and your right hand is pulling the golf club up. Too many people drag it, too many people push it. So we need to feel that the hinging is happening, that the grip is moving downward, and the head of the club is moving upward. That's what's going to help us keep it on this angle. If we don't keep it on this angle, again, we're knocking it off plane. Keeping it on plane is absolutely vital to having a consistent golf swing. So if we don't cock our wrists enough, basically what happens is the golf club goes inside way too much, which is, for the most part, the most common misdirection of playing right off the bat that there is. As we start to go back, you're going to notice back, the left arm's out in front of me, my hands have started to hinge. Now, my left forearm, to create the angle, my left forearm has to rotate. Okay? For the sake of this, I want you to kind of watch how the golf club head itself rotates. So my left arm has rotated up to the top. You're going to notice that this golf club now is above the noodle, and that means it's on plane. Again, there's many different planes in the backswing and in the golf swing, but they're all congruent angles. Okay, so we do not, in fact, swing on this exact plane, or we'd swing around our waist. So as we start the club back, the hands start to hinge. We get the club in a good position. The left forearm rotates, and you'll notice that this club now is on a plane, which means it's parallel but above the original shaft plane line. So if we don't let the left forearm rotate enough, basically what's going to happen is as we start back, we're going to have a lot of lift. Okay, and this is what we see a lot. Now you can see how that club now is too steep. If we don't hinge the hands in time, the golf club is going to swing too flat. So the left forearm rotating is vital. The forearms have to keep rotating to keep the golf club on plane. There's no part in the backswing where the forearms are not rotating. Okay? So as we go through it, like we said, the left arm, left wrist, as we get to the top, my forearms rotate. When I get to the top, this is where we get rewarded for that great grip. The back of my left hand and the bottom line of the golf club are all in a square line with my forearm. That promotes a square club face and an on-line position at the top. So the left wrist basically at address, when we went through the setup, when we had the club pointing basically at the fly, it has a little bit of a cup in it. That's correct. When you get to the top though, folks, when you get to the top and the club and the forearms rotate to keep it on plane, you're going to notice that the back of my left wrist is very flat now. And that is correct. This would be open. This would be closed. What we're looking for as both forearms rotate to the top is getting the back of my left hand flat and the bottom of the golf club, the leading edge, the same angle, okay, which is square. Basically, the big question that we get is, where is the end of my backswing? It's really simple, folks. The end of your backswing, as far as length goes, is where, as you start to create that nice coil of your upper against your body, or your lower body, excuse me, it's where your upper body can't turn anymore, okay? Everybody has different flexibility, so your test is going to be, as I start to wind my upper body against a resisting lower body, how far back can I go? When my shoulders stop turning, the golf club should stop, okay? It's really that simple. It's built into you. We don't, from that point, want the club to sag or do anything else. Okay, so that's how basically you figure out the length. Now from this view, if you're ever getting videoed, you're going to have to understand that if your golf swing is short of parallel, okay, short of parallel, the shaft of the golf club is going to point a little bit to the left of the target. That's what it's going to peer down the line. If you get the golf club too parallel, it's going to point more at the target. And if you tend to get the club across parallel, that's what we call across the line, the club is going to basically point a little bit to the right. That's called across the line. But again, to find out your length, find out where your shoulders stop. If the club is too upright, last little bit about plane. If we let the forearms rotate, and they come right down on plane, we're going to be in great shape. If the golf club goes and there's not enough rotation in the forearms, and we are too upright, you're going to dig the club into the ground, you'll hit the ball on the toe a lot, and the club face is going to be open. Okay, so those are the warning signs. If you're too flat in the plane, if you tend to come in and under this noodle too much, you're going to hit it thin, you're going to hit the ball off the heel a lot, and you're also going to hit it with a closed club face. So obviously you're not always going to have somebody watching you. If you see those three characteristics, that's going to help you tell you how your plane's doing. The next segment, we're going to take you from the top all the way down to impact and through. We'll see you then.